We all have orders, and we follow them. What if I told you The Eagle Has Landed 1976 wasn't just a World War II thriller about a daring raid? It was a fragile, pressure cooker production held together by weather disasters, clashing egos, military obsession, and constant studio anxiety. This film looks calm, controlled, almost classical. But behind the camera, sets flooded, actors broke bones, tempers flared, and authenticity nearly collapsed under its own weight. Today, we're uncovering 15 cinema secrets you missed in The Eagle Has Landed, 1976. You never knew. Including one final detail so strange, it quietly reshapes how this film should be remembered. Stay until the end. Because the bonus secret isn't about explosions. It's about silence. Let's begin. Fact number 1. The village wasn't a set. It became a liability. The peaceful English village that anchors the film isn't a controlled studio build. It's a real location, chosen for authenticity. That decision immediately creates problems. Narrow roads restrict equipment trucks. Locals wander into shots. Livestock interrupts takes. What audiences didn't know is how quickly realism becomes risk. Every exterior setup requires negotiation, patience, and compromise. The production can't fully lock down the area. Weather shifts without warning. Sound continuity collapses daily. It isn't convenience, it's chaos disguised as charm. And yet, that uncontrollable environment gives the film its lived-in texture. The village feels real because it resists being controlled. That resistance bleeds into the performances. Calm on screen, tension behind it. Fact number 2. The uniforms sparked heated arguments. Costumes aren't decoration on this film, they're doctrine. Wardrobe accuracy becomes a battlefield. Buttons, insignia, fabric weight, everything is scrutinized. Consultants argue, actors argue back. What audiences didn't know is how often shooting pauses over millimeter-level details. Some uniforms are restitched overnight, others are rejected entirely. It isn't vanity, it's ideology. Because one wrong patch undermines the film's credibility, and everyone knows it. The result is tension, not just between departments, but between realism and momentum. Every costume choice carries historical weight. Every delay adds pressure. By the time cameras roll, the actors aren't just wearing uniforms, they're carrying the burden of them. Fact number 3. Michael Caine's accent nearly changes the film. Michael Caine's performance feels effortless, but his voice becomes a problem early on. Not the acting, the placement. What audiences didn't know is how much time is spent calibrating his accent. Too refined and the illusion breaks. Too rough and nuance disappears. Director and actor debate rhythm, not volume. Cadence, not clarity. It isn't about sounding convincing. It's about not sounding like a performance. Multiple takes are discarded solely over tone. The camera rolls, but the take dies in the edit room. When the final voice lands, it's precise, controlled, almost invisible. And that invisibility is the point. The performance disappears into the role, and the film breathes because of it. Fact number 4. The training sequences were physically brutal. Those preparation scenes looked disciplined, efficient, almost understated. They weren't. What audiences didn't know is how physically punishing these sequences are to film. Long takes, heavy gear, repetition without relief. Actors train before shooting, then train again for camera, then repeat for coverage. Fatigue builds fast. Injuries aren't dramatic, but they accumulate. Sprains, strains, exhaustion. It isn't spectacle, it's endurance. And that exhaustion feeds the performances. Shoulders sag, movements slow, eyes harden. Nothing is exaggerated. Because nothing needs to be. The realism isn't designed, it's earned. Fact number 5. The film is edited like a heist, not a war movie. This isn't chaos-driven action, it's mechanical tension. What audiences didn't know is how deliberately the film is cut like a precision operation. Scenes are built around anticipation, not release. Silence carries more weight than noise. Editor and director strip excess ruthlessly. No indulgence, no lingering. It isn't about excitement, it's about inevitability. Each cut pushes the plan forward. Each pause reminds you how fragile it all is. The rhythm mirrors the mission itself, controlled, methodical, and doomed to fracture. You don't feel rushed. You feel trapped. Fact number 6. The child performers were the biggest risk. Children appear natural on screen. That's the danger. What audiences didn't know is how unpredictable these performances are behind the scenes. Focus drifts, timing collapses, emotional beats vanish mid-take. And yet, the film depends on them. It isn't about innocence, it's about unpredictability. Crew members are reassigned just to maintain continuity. Takes multiply. Patience wears thin. But when it works completely. The children ground the story. They humanize the tension. They turn strategy into consequence. Without them, the film becomes clever. With them, it becomes unsettling. Fact number 7, the weather nearly shut the film down. Rain becomes the invisible antagonist. What audiences didn't know is how often shooting halts because conditions become unsafe or unusable. Mud swallows equipment, light disappears, sound becomes useless. Schedules collapse, call sheets change hourly. It isn't inconvenience, it's financial danger. But instead of fighting it, the production absorbs it. Rain becomes texture, gray skies become mood, dampness becomes realism. The film's subdued tone isn't designed in post. It's inherited from the sky. Fact 8. The action avoids heroics on purpose. There are no triumphant beats, no celebratory motion. What audiences didn't know is how intentionally the film avoids visual glorification. Action is functional, movement is restrained. This isn't bravery, it's procedure. The camera observes instead of praising. Violence is implied more than displayed. It isn't about victory, it's about consequence. That choice frustrates some executives during production, but it defines the film's identity. The tension doesn't explode, it tightens. Fact number 9. The score is designed to disappear. Music usually announces emotion. Here, it withdraws. What audiences didn't know is how carefully the score is mixed to avoid manipulation. Cues are restrained, themes are delayed, silence dominates. It isn't absence, it's pressure. The lack of musical guidance forces viewers to sit with uncertainty. When the score finally rises, it doesn't comfort, it warns. The restraint makes the moments land harder. You don't feel told what to feel, you feel alone with it. 10. This film nearly loses its ending. And right here, go ahead and like and subscribe, because what almost happens next would have rewritten the entire film. Studio notes question the final tone. Is it too bleak, too quiet, too unresolved? What audiences didn't know is how close the ending comes to being softened. Explanations are suggested, additions proposed, but restraint wins. Not closure, but consequence. The ending stays controlled, uncomfortable, final. And because of that, it lingers. Fact 11. Real military minds studied this film. After release, something unexpected happens. Professionals notice. What audiences didn't know is how often this film is discussed for its procedural realism, the planning, the logistics, the mistakes. It isn't spectacle, it's anatomy. The film becomes a quiet reference point, not entertainment, but structure. That respect comes from restraint. Nothing is exaggerated, nothing is romanticized. The film trusts the audience to understand complexity, and that trust pays off for decades. Fact 12. The film refuses moral comfort. No one is celebrated, no one is absolved. What audiences didn't know is how intentionally the script avoids moral hand-holding. Characters aren't explained away, motivations remain layered. It isn't judgment, it's observation. That refusal unsettles some viewers, but it's the film's strength. It forces reflection instead of reaction. You're not told who to cheer, you're asked who you believe. Fact number 13. The cast was exhausted by design. Long shooting days, minimal downtime, emotional restraint that never lets up. What audiences didn't know is how fatigue becomes a deliberate tool. As energy drains, performances sharpen, reactions slow, movements grow heavier. The cast stops performing effort and starts embodying it. It isn't cruelty, it's calibration. By the final weeks, posture changes, steps lose bounce, silence takes longer to break, even eye contact feels weighed down. That exhaustion isn't corrected, it's protected, because that weariness translates directly to the screen. You don't just see tension, you feel the burden of carrying it. Because they did. Factor 14. The film's reputation grows quietly. There is no immediate explosion of praise, no cultural detonation. What audiences didn't know is how slowly this film earns its reputation. Through repeat viewings, through late-night broadcasts, through conversations passed between viewers rather than headlines. It isn't iconic through noise. It becomes essential through restraint. Each revisit reveals something new. A glance held too long. A pause that says more than dialogue. A decision that quietly changes everything. The film never demands attention, it waits for it. And over time, viewers return, not because they were impressed, but because something stayed with them. That's how legacies form, quietly. Do Factor 15. The title means more than it says. The phrase sounds triumphant, final, victorious. It isn't. What audiences didn't know is how deeply ironic the title truly is. Landing isn't success, it's exposure. It's the moment movement stops and consequences begin. Once the eagle lands, escape disappears. Visibility increases, control slips away. The title doesn't celebrate arrival, it warns against it. That single phrase reframes the entire story, not as achievement, but as inevitability. The mission isn't defined by flight. It's defined by what happens when flight ends. The title isn't a banner. It's a quiet verdict. Bonus fact, the most powerful element of The Eagle Has Landed isn't performance, or plot, or even realism. It's restraint. What audiences didn't know is how often the film chooses not to speak. Moments that could explain, justify, or dramatize instead withdraw. That silence forces engagement, reflection, unease, and that's why the film endures. Not because it shouts history, but because it listens to it. This wasn't just a war film, it was a study in control, in consequence, in what happens when planning meets reality. If you want more cinema secrets hiding in plain sight, like, subscribe, and comment which classic you want uncovered next. Because some films don't explode, they settle.